Has anybody ever said they thought you were a plant? They thought you were,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
absolutely.
get?
Okay, so now and then...
Because you'd be a good Chinese asset.
Yeah. Well, there are people who believe I'm the Antichrist.
You know what's in the air. 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 It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility. It's possibility.
All right, so Theo Vaughn had a conversation with Professor Jiang or Professor Jiang. This is the guy who went viral with his theories about Iran and Trump. He predicted that Trump would win in 2024 and then start a war in Iran that he would lose. And people became fascinated with his style of so-called teaching. Since then, he has kind of gone off the deep end a little bit. I mean, he still delivers his theories and his game theory interpretation pretty consistently, but some of it delves into really weird spiritual, pseudo-spiritual territory. So you'll see that here. This is a great example of that, as well as him being a little bit of a sus figure. So just to give you a decent sense of that right out the gate, here's the part where they talk about Trump, and this is a couple different sections. The second clip here comes later in the conversation. He's talking about how he thinks America's likely to veer into civil war and what might happen with Trump doing a third term. But also in this beginning part, he makes a claim about Trump and how Trump's behavior on Iran goes against his personality and his history and his background, which I completely disagree with. So here's that.
Yeah, and a lot of things that are happening right now just defy human logic. So everyone's looking at Donald Trump and is like, the war is lost already. Just make peace with Iran. Just get out of there. And what Trump is doing is he's doing tackle. One day he's like, we're going to end your civilization. And the other day is like, let's make peace, guys. Let's just be friends. And the next day he's like, no, I'm going to nuke you now. And the next day he's like, oh, you know what? I didn't really mean that. It's just weird.
Yeah. It feels bizarre. It feels pointless, but it matches with everything feels bizarre right now.
And the way that Trump is behaving right now goes against his character. Because in the 80s and 90s, he was a real estate developer. He was a business person, right? He understood, if you do business, you need to have credibility. You can't flip-flop because, everyone will be scared of you.
I agree. That's actually a really good point. I mean, even when he was running for office, it seemed like every other thing, it seemed like he knows exactly what he's talking about. It seems like he knows exactly where he stands.
So it's just really weird situation where how the United States is behaving in the Middle East, it goes against American interests. And the way that Donald Trump is behaving, it goes against his character. He's never behaved like this before.
What do you think's going on with America right now? Do you feel like we're still the world's economic superpower?
It's an empire in decline. It's like I'm just walking the streets of Los Angeles, and it really seems that America is on the brink of a civil war. And
really, you think that?
Yeah.
How would that happen, though?
Yeah, I think that the midterms will be a major test of the cohesion of this country. And what I think may happen is Trump may go for a third term.
No way. How could he do it? Can't you only go for 2 terms?
So according to the Constitution, there's something called the 22nd Amendment, which says that a U.S. president may not sit for more than 2 terms. But there's a loophole. The loophole is, imagine 2028. Don Jr. is at the top of the ticket, and Donald Trump is the vice president. They win, and then Don Jr., he resigns, and then Donald Trump is now the president again.
No way. You think that's going to happen?
I think there's a strong possibility this could happen. But also there's the War Powers Act, where America's at war, and so they suspend the Constitution.
So this theory about Don Jr. is going to win on the presidential ticket and Donald Trump is going to win as vice president, and that's going to allow him to be president for a third term. I mean, that's not going to happen. That's like working backwards from the conclusion of Trump's third term. I don't think that's like a viable interpretation of that so-called loophole. I don't even know if that would be legally possible to pull it off. Even if it was, there's literally no chance Donald Trump Jr. is winning the election. Like, not at all. Maybe it wouldn't have to be him. Maybe it would be somebody else, and then Trump could be the vice president. I just don't think that's what's going to happen. The military thing that he said is a lot more likely. The idea that because we're at war, Trump will try to like suspend the Constitution. We could definitely see some version of that, especially if he is emboldened somehow. But I think that his chances of even trying to pull that off are lower if there's a decent amount of Democratic wins in the midterms. I think that's just going to slow his momentum down on a lot of that power grab stuff. But this other thing that he says is the truly bizarre claim, this idea that what we're seeing from Trump on Iran is different from his personality, different from his like usual behavior as a business mogul. I mean, that's just completely wrong. And like, that is the worst thing, that people who previously supported Trump and are starting to change their mind, that is the worst thing to take away from all of this. This idea that we're in like bizarro world, which they point out, that's just a byproduct of electing Trump. That's exactly what it was like the first time. And there's a very simple reason for it. It's because Donald Trump just lies like he breathes. He just says things that aren't true all the time, day in and day out. And it creates these like parallel streams of reality because there are people who go along with every single lie he says and pretends it's true. So we've been dealing with this for 10 years. It's not any different on Iran. He's doing the exact same thing. The only difference now is that he seems to have gotten himself into a pickle that he can't wiggle out of. At least he hasn't so far. But I find that to just be a straight up lie, to just say to the audience. And, you know, I mean, that's what got us into this mess, thinking that there's any type of consistency to the like ethics or morals of Donald Trump. There just isn't. He's a madman. But anyway, speaking of madmen, getting a little further into Jiang's worldview here, they get more into the secret society stuff. And this is becoming more what Jiang is known for. He's talked about other spiritual and sort of fantastical things as of recently, but a lot of it circulates around his theories that secret societies are ultimately what controls the world, and he incorporates capitalism into that. He incorporates different warring religions into that in a way that makes a lot of sense. But at the root of it, he has decided that he wants to tie it all in with secret societies like the Illuminati. So here's him telling Theo Von about that.
You mentioned a little bit ago about secret societies,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Can you take me into some of that and how? And you said that you believe that that's some of what is controlling some of this.
Secret societies rule the world. Okay, so let me
You
explain.
believe secret societies rule the world?
Yes. Okay. So let me explain why that's the case.
Okay.
All right. So the power in the world is what we call transnational capital, right? And transnational capital, all it means is money that is able to move freely around the world and invest where it wants and extract profit from these places. And so transnational capital would include pension funds. It would include sovereign wealth funds. It would include private capital such as like State Street, Vanguard, Wall Street, City of London.
China has a huge sovereign wealth fund.
That's
doesn't
right.
It?
That's right. So transnational capital is a huge entity, and you know they say money makes the world go around. Okay, so transnational controls the world, and
So money controls the world. You're
basically,
saying. Got it.
okay. So, but the problem is that transnational capital is a game, and
It's a gain.
it's a game. Right? Because you're trying to maximize your profit. You're trying to beat others in the stock market. And in any game, there's a certain way to win, right? And so like, how do you win every single game? Like, no matter what game you play, what's the secret to winning every game?
Get to the end.
The answer is you cheat, okay? If you play by the rules, if you work hard, and you play fair, you're a sucker, okay? To win the game, you have to cheat. And the best way to cheat is to secretly conspire with others to rig the game in your favor, okay? And that's why we have secret societies, right? Because to win the game of capital, you need three things. First of all, you need access to secret information. You need to know more things than other people know. Second thing you need is infiltration. You need your people to go in the government in order to create policies that favor you. The third thing is you need coordination, conspiracy between these different groups in order to create an outcome that you want. Right? And so think about the world that we live in today, right? Where if you have like 1 minute of confidential information, you're able to make millions, billions, right? So the question then is like, how do you access this information? Well, you do so through transnational networks. And throughout history, there have been 3 major transnational networks in Europe. The first is the Freemasons. The second are the Jesuits. And the third are the Jewish diaspora. And at some point, they figured out, why don't we just work together?
And what they call themselves?
The Illuminati.
Damn.
Yeah.
I heard about it. Dude,
Yeah.
my black friends are always talking about them, man.
Yeah. The Illuminati. And so which societies have the greatest advantage? And the answer is those who practice eschatology have the greatest advantage.
Eschatology?
Right. Eschatology is the belief in that God will end the world at some point. Okay? And so why is it that eschatological secret societies are superior to other secret societies? And the reason why is they're able to channel the religious energy of millions of people. So why we're having this war in the Middle East, it's not just secret societies. It's also the fact that you have tens of millions of Christian Zionists, Christian evangelicals who support Israel, right? So if you're an investor, there are 3 ways to make the most money. The first is war, second is revolution, and the third is religion. So these societies, through the eschatology, are always supporting war, revolution, and religion. Because if you're a millionaire, well, you invest your money in the stock market. But if you're a trillionaire, you invest your money in war, revolution, and religion. Wow. What motivates these people is not greed. It's not power. It's faith. They're accelerationists. They believe that God has a divine plan. And all I'm doing is helping God accelerate this plan.
Wow. Oh my gosh, dude. What the heck? So that's part of some people's faith. They believe they have a strong enough faith that they believe that what they're doing is helping to accelerate it.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to think anymore.
And that's why things are happening so fast. I mean,
Dude, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like things are happening so fast.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's happening so fast.
Yeah.
So how does this end?
I mean, that's kind of dark, but
Maybe we just leave it to be continued, you think?
yeah.
But
well,
we can pray that doesn't happen because we don't know that's going to happen, right?
They put their faith in God. We should put our faith in God.
Amen.
All right, so like I said, there are things about this that are true. And one thing that I find interesting is that he usually starts this explanation by talking about global capital. And what he's describing is essentially cartels. And so that's true. The fact that, different business leaders and people who own a lot of money, people who own a lot of property, capitalists of all stripes get together and they plan things, or they have their little schemes to maximize certain things on the market, get ahead of certain things. So all that is true. My issue with his description here is he starts with the idea of a secret society, and then he describes that as something less than a secret society. So a bunch of business people that get together and essentially form a cartel that, allows them to have a monopoly, a cooperative monopoly over a certain resource or whatever. That's not the same as a secret society. It actually lacks all of the hallmarks of the types of secret societies that he's gesturing at, like religious secret societies or like culty type of things. So then he says that, these 3 major influential groups, the Jesuits, Zionists, and whatever he says, got together and decided that they were going to control global capitalism together, and that's the Illuminati. But if you say that they essentially have formed a religious group together, or that these 3 sects of religious groups that don't agree with each other and do not share a religious project or any other kind of project, that they are the ones collaborating and creating this secret society, that's just where you're going to need to point to something specific. Like, where are you getting that from? What exactly are you referring to? So I think at this point it becomes more imaginative for him, and also he seems to kind of buy into this thing that he describes about people that believe in essentially the end of the world, and how that is a powerful powerful motivator behind, the ideologies that carry the most weight in the world. And I think there's something to that. I think that's an apt observation. But I would say the way that Jiang veers into religion himself and faith himself, talking about God, talking about faith in God, to me, it seems like kind of what he's hinting at is that he kind of embraces this idea of the end of the world. And when he says this thing about the Holocaust, I don't think he was saying there are some Jews out there who believe that the Holocaust was necessary to, force the remaining Jews closer to God. It sounded the way he phrased that like he was just saying that as fact, like that's kind of what he believes. Even when Theo Von presses him, you're saying that there are certain radical people out there that believe that. He doesn't clarify and say that. I think he believes that, and I think that he very much believes some of these kind of more out there theories. So as the final example of that, here is, first of all, Theo Von asking him if he is some kind of spy or op for China, but then also Jiang getting a little bit more into whether he feels threatened by these secret societies that he talks about.
Has anybody ever said they thought you were a plant? They thought you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you get?
Okay, so now and then,
Because you'd be a good Chinese asset.
yeah. Well, there are people who believe I'm the Antichrist.
Nuh-uh.
There are people who believe that I'm in my Chinese classroom with my whiteboard, and my whiteboard is magical, so I can actually like direct the course of human events with my whiteboard. I'm just there, and I'm just like, I want war, and I want, and I'm like, I'm not the Antichrist.
Okay.
All right? I swear to you, I'm not the Antichrist.
Okay.
I might be a Chinese spy, but I'm not the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of, had any issues like come your way? Have you ever feared for your safety? Have you had people that have spoken up against you, or what's that been like for you?
Yeah. So one thing that I think a lot about is what are the consequences for telling the truth, for speaking up, for drawing attention to secret societies. And here's my logic. I think that these people get to where they are because they really do believe in God. But the God they believe in may not be the God that we believe in, right? But they really do believe in God. And they really believe that what they're doing is doing God's will, and they're accelerating events that were predestined by God since the beginning of time. And so I present a paradox to them because I seem to know their plans, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I don't get their plans correct, then I'm an idiot and they can just ignore me. But if I'm able to articulate their plans, then how am I able to know all this? Because I'm not part of the secret societies. I don't know any of these people, but at the same time, I know how they think, and I know what their plan is. So they can't resolve this paradox. So the only thing they can do is ignore me. I'm caught in dissonance. Does that make sense?
Right. If they were to come for you, then it would prove that there's something true about their plan. Is that what you're saying?
No. So in their mindset, if the only way I could know their plan is if God told me their plan. But they think that they're doing God's work. So how to explain the fact that God's telling them what to do, but also God's telling me to tell the world
that their plan's bad.
What the plans are. Yeah. So they're like, well, we don't know how to resolve this, so let's just ignore this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a hint of paranoia here, and in a way I get it. I mean, this guy has become enormously popular, and so given that he does talk about the structures of power in the world, it makes sense that you would start to feel like you might be rubbing someone out there the wrong way, or if you really are truly getting close to the nature of what's really going on in the world, people might take issue with that. It does make you a target. But I think there's this tendency to center the self. It's similar to what Candace Owens does, where she becomes kind of the main character in this story. And I think that Jiang sees himself that way. He's starting to see himself as some kind of prophetic figure. And I think that the fact that he has gone gone so viral and reached so many people has probably fed into what was maybe like a loose inclination to want to believe in God or want to believe in, sort of channeling the word of God. Whereas now that his predictions are getting him attention and have borne out to be true, some of them, I think that probably feeds into some delusions of grandeur in this guy, or this idea that what he's pursuing is like God's ultimate truth that will somehow see us through to peace and love or whatever. So in many ways, I think that he kind of has a good message. I think it definitely veers into anti-Semitism sometimes. I think he's chilled a little bit on that after some criticism. I haven't heard him use the word Pax Judaica. He seems to prefer saying the Greater Israel Project now. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think this guy's mostly a kook. But if there's one thing that I think is notable about him, it is the holistic way that he is able to talk about politics, but also fold it into a greater sense of belief, a greater sense of faith, and how one can like put themselves toward a positive worldview and a positive like lifestyle. And so I think that's valuable, although I do think that he, by the nature of his predictions not being that consistently good, will probably be less relevant as time goes on.
I'm in the pocket, and they know they can't slow it, can't